The year was 1945, the Second World War had ended and empires were collapsing. Amid this upheaval, Palestine, a small strip on the eastern Mediterranean, became the center of hope and conflict. For centuries under Ottoman rule, then British control after World War I, Palestine was a land of competing dreams. The Arab majority, rooted in the land for generations, sought independence and saw new arrivals as a threat. For Jews, Palestine was Zion, the ancient homeland, now a refuge after the horrors of the Holocaust. The British, caught between promises to both Jews and Arabs, struggled to maintain order. The 1917 Balfour Declaration supported a Jewish homeland but also pledged to protect non-Jewish communities. As Jewish immigration increased, violence erupted between communities. By the late 1940s, Britain, exhausted by war, handed the problem to the United Nations. Palestine was now a land simmering with fear and hatred on the brink of explosion. Two peoples, two histories, and two irreconcilable visions for the same land. The stage was set for a conflict that would reshape the Middle East. The world watched, uncertain and anxious. The struggle for Palestine was about to ignite. The United Nations, newly formed to prevent future wars, faced its first major test, Palestine. After months of debate, the UN proposed partition, 2 states, 1 Arab, 1 Jewish, with Jerusalem under international control. On November 29, 1947, the world held its breath as the UN voted. For Jews, the vote was a miracle, recognition, safety, and a homeland after centuries of exile and the Holocaust. Celebrations erupted in Tel Aviv and Jewish communities worldwide. For Arabs, the vote was a catastrophe, a foreign body dividing their land, favoring recent immigrants. The Arab Higher Committee and neighboring Arab states rejected the plan outright. Violence erupted the next day, escalating from riots to civil war. Jewish and Arab militias clashed, villages and convoys were attacked. The British, preparing to leave, did little to stop the chaos. Palestine descended into brutal conflict, a prelude to a larger war. The world's attempt at compromise satisfied no one. The lines were drawn, and the countdown to war had begun. The fate of Palestine would now be decided by force. The region braced for what was to come. On May 14, 1948, as the British mandate ended, Jewish leaders declared the State of Israel in Tel Aviv. For the first time in 2,000 years, a sovereign Jewish nation existed. The celebration was brief. Danger loomed on every border. Arab states, Egypt, Transjordan, Syria, Lebanon, and Iraq prepared to invade, vowing to destroy the new state. The invasion began the next day. Egyptian planes bombed Tel Aviv, and armies advanced from all directions. Israel, outnumbered and outgunned, faced 5 regular armies. Its defenders were a mix of Holocaust survivors and local youth, poorly equipped but determined. The Haganah, now transforming into the Israel Defense Forces, scrambled to organize. The war for Israel's survival had begun. The odds were grim, but retreat was not an option. The fate of a nation hung in the balance. The Middle East was plunged into open war. The Arab advance was swift and powerful, threatening Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. Small Israeli settlements like Yad Mordechai and Kfar Darom held off Egyptian forces, buying precious time. In Jerusalem, Jewish neighborhoods were besieged. The main road was cut by the Arab Legion. Desperate Israeli assaults failed to break the siege, and the Jewish quarter in the Old City fell. To save West Jerusalem, Israelis built the secret Burma Road, breaking the blockade and delivering supplies. In the north, Syrian forces attacked settlements near the Sea of Galilee. At Kibbutz Degania, defenders stopped Syrian tanks with Molotov cocktails, halting the advance. Across all fronts, the first weeks were a chaotic struggle for survival. Ordinary people faced extraordinary danger. Every battle was existential. The outcome was uncertain. The war's first phase was a desperate defense. After weeks of brutal fighting, exhaustion set in on both sides. The UN brokered a ceasefire on June 11, 1948. A brief, crucial pause. The Arab armies, stalled and depleted, failed to reinforce or rearm effectively. Israel seized the opportunity, reorganizing the Haganah into the Israel Defense Forces. Thousands of new recruits, many World War II veterans, joined the ranks. Most importantly, Israel broke the arms embargo, acquiring weapons from Europe and Czechoslovakia. When fighting resumed in July, Israel was transformed, better equipped, organized, and confident. The balance of power had shifted. The period of defense ended. Counterattack began. The truce, meant to bring peace, set the stage for a decisive new phase. The war was about to change dramatically. The next battles would determine the fate of the land. The conflict entered a new, more destructive chapter. With the truce over, Israel launched major offensives to seize the initiative. Operation Danny widened the corridor to Jerusalem, capturing Lydda and Ramleh, strategic victories, but also sites of mass Arab expulsions. Tens of thousands of Palestinians were forced to flee, marking the Nakba, or catastrophe. In the north, Operation Dekel secured the Galilee, capturing Nazareth and driving out Arab forces. In the south, the Egyptian army held firm, but Israel prepared for a decisive push. October 1948, Operation Yoav targeted the Negev, breaking Egyptian lines and capturing Beersheba. Israel gained air superiority, bombing Egyptian positions and trapping a brigade in the Fallujah pocket. The Egyptian front collapsed. The war's momentum had shifted decisively. Israel was now on the offensive across all fronts. The final act of the war was underway. The map of the region was being redrawn. The conflict's human cost was mounting. Israel's southern victories were matched by a northern offensive, Operation Hiram, capturing the Upper Galilee. More Palestinian villages were emptied, deepening the refugee crisis. In December, Operation Horef drove the last Egyptian forces from Israeli soil, even crossing into the Sinai. International alarm forced Israel to withdraw from Egypt. The military phase ended. Egypt agreed to a ceasefire in January 1949. Other Arab states soon followed. On Rhodes, UN-mediated armistice agreements set new ceasefire lines, the Green Line. These were not peace treaties, just lines where fighting stopped. The Arab states refused to recognize Israel. The war was over, but peace was elusive. The region settled into a tense, fragile silence. The conflict's wounds remained open. The future was uncertain. The 1948 war redrew the Middle East. Israel survived and expanded, controlling 77% of Mandate Palestine, more than the UN had allotted. The West Bank fell to Jordan, Gaza to Egypt. The planned Arab state never emerged. For Israelis it was a hard-won independence, but at great cost. 6,000 dead, nearly 1% of the population. Jewish refugees from Arab countries poured into Israel, reshaping its society. For Palestinians it was the Nakba. Over 750,000 became refugees, never allowed to return. Their dispossession became the heart of a new, enduring conflict. The armistice lines brought no peace, only a temporary, unstable reality. Core issues, Jerusalem borders, refugees, remained unresolved. The Arab world refused to recognize Israel. Israel focused on survival and state building. The war ended, but the conflict was only beginning. Decades of violence, displacement, and bitterness followed. The events of 1948 still shape the region today. Understanding this year is key to understanding the world we live in.